Jack Henderson, co-founder of Henderson Advocacy, sitting here with co-founder Mark Kentwell.
Yes, we're back.
2 years into the journey of Henderson Advocacy.
Yes, yeah.
And I think the purpose of this video is to create some context around the 2 years that have been, the learnings that we've had, the testing and measuring that we've done, and then I guess painting the picture for the future and how we're going to implement all the things that we've learnt to continue our vision of being the most influential, the household name when you think of advocacy, and you know, I think the backbone of creating an industry that will be something that every buyer will think of, or most buyers will think of when they go into a real estate transaction.
Yeah. That's our hope. Like, I suppose when we had our little 2 years ago, we're getting started, what are we doing here? Like, you know, people are like, how'd you come together? And that whole story. Now we're at the 2 years live test and measure in the market. And I suppose as a principal of multiple brands and having been on the front foot as an agent, come principal, come, you know, large office owner, to my role really has been working with the Australian real estate industry and speaking to the most influential principals around the country, or those that I see that are really rapidly leaning into change, and investigating with them without coming in with an agenda about how they see buyer's agency, what they believe is going to be the buyer's agency landscape in the sort of decade ahead. And it's been a really broad spectrum, but we're starting to now see those that are grabbing onto it, that our trajectory projections are well and truly possible. So like what we won under 2% transactions in Australia right now, probably under 1% if you go all of Australia.
Yeah.
But with the metro areas, Sydney and Melbourne make up 66% of the dollar volume in Australia's market. Sydney and Melbourne are where most of the buyer's agency transactions are most known. I mean, we've got Lux Listing Sydney now. It's been a TV program that's probably helped us in breaking the water. That if you look at it, in our time, it's our belief that we can get past 20% in those influential areas, and we want to be part of that change. How have you found it on the scene, Jack? Lead buyer's agent, media man, TikTok profile, 1.5 million views on certain topics, getting interviewed a lot, interviewing a lot of other sort of CEOs and speaking to a lot of the movers and shakers in and around our industry. Sort of experience in this first couple of years out on the field. What have you felt out there?
So I think last year, 2021, was really our first full year of business. I think we launched our website in late Feb, early March. And it was an incredible market to start in. But I also think last year you didn't necessarily need to be a superstar to get decent results, right? Because there was a lot of FOMO in the marketplace. There was a lot of people missing out on property. It was a marketplace where buyers agents could really I think shine, and you didn't necessarily have to be doing everything right, and you still would have made decent money, and created a decent brand for yourself. But I think
happy buyers as well. Like, we pretty much had a 97% review, 5-star review rate.
Yeah,
or
we're
like that.
We're edging onto 200 5-star reviews in 2 years, which is 2 a week.
Yeah.
But as we transition into this year, naturally the marketplace isn't as strong. Buyers don't have as much urgency, and I think now you're really starting to see who the players in the industry are in comparison to the people who are just riding a wave of being there and happening to catch business as it comes to them.
Yeah.
And I think if we look at the volume that we're still doing this year, first quarter of this financial year, and we signed on 60 clients, which I think is decent. If we look at 240 odd clients per year in the second year, it's strong numbers. And I think now you'll start to see separation between the people or the businesses who are trailblazing, and then the people who are maybe don't have all of their ducks in a line, maybe aren't strong at branding and marketing and relationships and lead generation and all the things you need to be a holistic business, and they were just relying on FOMO in the marketplace. The people come to them, maybe they're the cheapest option in the market, or maybe they're they had some decent referral relationships, but now the people that were getting referrals off, their business has dried up as well, right?
Yeah.
I think now for Henderson Advocacy, it's probably the time where we're going to see significant growth because we've tested and measured things that work and don't work. I think we've become a more efficient business. And I also think now there's going to be some players who are strong buyer's agents, have strong market knowledge, love their craft, but maybe don't have the expertise in the running of the business, how to, wear 10 hats at once and generate leads and build relationships and build a brand and service your clients to the highest degree and, manage cash flow and, hire staff and all the things that you have to do to create a scalable business. Now I think is going to be the time for us to be able to bring those people into our ecosystem, and turn them into absolute animals.
I suppose it has been tempting during this first couple of years because with all the hype in the market, with TV shows, with your media profile, which has always been part of it, it would have been very easy to get caught up with just hiring lots of rock stars, giving them the sort of keys and saying, off you go and be a great buyer's agent, just make sure everyone knows about it. But one of the things I saw really early, we've got a really unique opportunity here. Buyer's agency in Australia is sort of under 40 years old, so between 35 and 40 years old, some of the earliest ones in Melbourne and Sydney. And really, they've been a very sort of individual operator that's got a great profile, great IP, and they're excellent operators that are out there. They've been there a long time. But that business model that we could see, even those that are really well known from sort of media and stuff like that, they're still effectively frontman driven brands or frontwoman driven brands. And whilst you're a very strong frontman for our brand, it's almost like you're an example of what you can be in this industry to other agents that might be on the sales agent side or aspiring on the buyer's agent side or in some sort of advisory place. But I've been really focused on the back end and making sure that the industry gives and gains acceptance of the buyer's agency, that every stakeholder wins, that the buyer must win. The buyer must be better off for dealing with it. There must be better value. They must be able to have better options. They must be able to have a more professionally represented feel. But the vendors have to win too, because through their agents, there has to be an advantage to deal with buyer's agents. It can't just be like a relationship with an agent that's giving you an early access. There's got to be a reason for that access. There's got to be a reason for that relationship. And we can actually form something that's completely new here. And we are seeing it. It's different than the United States, where they've got National Association of Realtors to kind of protect them. They've been around from the start. Most agents are buyer's agents in America. And the only thing really getting in their way is technology and being slow to adapt. Whereas we've never had buyer's agents as a big part of our scene. The selling agent fee is too small to split properly. We do need our professional representation. So our next step now really is the recruitment of professionals that we've identified as the sort of character type and the avatar for that. So because we've grown a lot of people from scratch and they've gone exceptionally well.
Yeah, I think if you look at our track record of, we've had some pretty successful people who have gone from literally zero with zero real estate experience in advisory, accountancy, for example.
Yeah.
We've had people from hospitality and running hospitality businesses. We've had people from, the aerospace industry, working.
Fitness.
And they've grown into, $500,000 to $1 million riders within a 2-year period.
Yeah.
From standing start. And that's not everyone, but
No.
I think if, what we've learned is that if you resonate with our culture, you have the qualities that, I think any good business person has, but, especially in our industry, like dedication, like, commitment to your clients. Everyone talks about hustle. I prefer to use the word dedication.
Dedication. Hustle can sound like it's cutting corners, and and I think dedication is yes, we're going to push through the barriers. We're going to keep showing up. The discipline. Discipline outlasts motivation for a long time. That's what's been needed in this changing market.
For sure. And then every stakeholder winning, I think, is a big one. You need to work with the agents. You need to work with your conveyancers. You need to work with the vendors. You need to work with your clients as a buyer and represent them to the best of your ability. But I think everyone should come out of every transaction feeling like it's been a win and it's been a positive experience, and people want to work with us because it was easier than working in a transaction without us.
Yeah, they've got a bit more benefit as a result of working for us than if they didn't, and all the stakeholders around it. And we're seeing that flow now. So, now that we're represented in Brisbane and Melbourne and Sydney and Newcastle and buying properties all around Australia in all places, our next step from here really is we want 5 years in the industry. Now, they can be from the sales agency side, they could be property management, ideally sales agency, and the type of agents we're talking about they might have been a great listing agent that was in the market a long time. They just got a bit jaded with the hours, or someone coming in and spending more money on marketing than them and putting stuff in people's letterboxes and social media and cutting corners on fees and overpricing in a hot market, and then going, I don't want to play this game, and they've tapped out, they've gone into something else. Or they've been very good at servicing like a vendor or servicing a buyer and knowing the market, knowing the IP. In sales agencies, surprisingly, listing agents aren't really getting their dough and their amount of listings from having really great area knowledge, even though it's an important thing. If they're a really good closer, if they've got really good media profile, if they've got a big circle of influence, and they've got happy clients out the back end, then a lot of the time they'll get lots of listings, but you ask them, where that laneway is that runs off that street down the corner there next to that kids' park, and they'll go, what suburb? And it's interesting how they don't know that stuff, or they don't know how to deal with the different solicitors or what's going on in the landscape with the competitors. Whereas to be a good buyer's agent, we want to help a buyer's agent become successful by doing the buyer's agent activities, which is managing the client through the process and helping them with expectations and the IP that goes around it, sourcing a property from the professionals out there, from clients direct, from stock that used to be on the market, working directly with agents and bringing stock to market, and actually negotiating and buying one so that all the stakeholders are coming way in front. And what we've noticed with most of the firms that I've studied in particular in the last couple of years while you've been going gangbusters being a buyer's agent, is that most of them get juniors that either run alongside the sort of front person, and they just sort of become good by being around them and their habits, their sort of habits and their hobbies and what they're good at, which is like a networking media thing. Or they stick them in a back room and just make phone calls, or take agents to coffee for ages, or spam people with emails and SMS and hope that they're going to get clients. But they don't really break through at any point and become really good at being buyer's agents because they've been on that side of it so long. So it's been unique how we've managed to put clients on our buyer's agents sort of desks from the start. And I think that's a key piece moving forward. What do you think about that compared to the firms that you've looked at, Jack? Because it was a comment you made early on that if we could solve this sort of client acquisition process, we're going to have sort of an unlimited pipeline of good talent. How come you think that hasn't really occurred in other firms yet?
There's usually two ways people acquire clients. It's either referral, so you're getting referrals from other people, and I guess my issue with relying solely on that is that your business is reliant on someone else doing the work. So, like if you look at a marketplace right now, it's quiet. Real estate agents, want to keep their buyers a lot of the time because there isn't a lot of them around. So trying to get referrals out of certain agents has become very difficult, which means your business is going to be at the detriment of that. And the other way is either outbound or paid. So, doing paid media and trying to acquire clients that way. It's a very difficult space. It's a very expensive. It's a pay to play space. So if you haven't got a huge amount of cash flow, or you haven't got the business behind you, it's very hard to continue to spend the money without necessarily seeing the results. And the outbound requires a lot of work. And a lot of people have done it in the past, and hasn't 100% been above board. So again, it's not sustainable and it's not long term. And I think the model that we've been able to create around client acquisition, both in the paid media space, both in the organic media space, and then both in our growth center model is unlike anything else in any other firm, and it allows us to have ultimate scale into any marketplace. Because naturally, if you have a referral-based relationship, it's usually in one specific market. You've got 3 or 4 agents on your side. You've got a few accountants, or you've got a few conveyancers, whatever it is. But it's very set to one area. With the model that we've created, we have an unlimited amount of scale and reach because we can pick and choose the areas that we want to go into. So if there was an advocate out there, or a potential advocate out there who had an area expertise in a certain market that we were not in right now, it would take us all of a month to be
Yeah.
able to set up a relationship in that area.
Definitely.
and build a business out in that area and have traction from day one.
Yeah. I think it's been worthwhile. It's been a big investment, like you said, a lot of trial and error. What I really appreciated is the amount of intel from the CEOs of the big groups that I've been spending time with. I was very, as you know, I was very sort of gentle about approaching. I didn't want to go from the rooftops and shout to everyone that I'm in buyer's agency now. I knew that there'd be a number of people in the sales agent community that are kind of fearful of that. How does that work? Are you working for both sides inappropriately? So we had that many lawyers give us advice, and got advice from governing panels as well. That most importantly, I wanted to sort of speak to these larger firms and say, what plans have you got in buyer's agency? What would constitute a company structure that you'd be comfortable referring to if a lot of that legwork was taken away from you and we could work together and have a win-win partnership? Would you want to participate? And the trials that we've done in that have all come up with flying colours. So, and I suppose, just to, without going on for too long, I suppose we are buying property in Brisbane and Melbourne and other parts of Australia now, but right now we've just got massive opportunities in Sydney and Newcastle for agents that have been in other parts of real estate, and particularly in Sydney. We could onboard another 8 or 10 agents easily in Sydney, and we'd still have more runway in front of them that they want and that we need. And in Newcastle, 2 to 3 quite comfortably without sort of running into volume sort of limits. So, that's someone, male or female, that's been in the industry sort of around 5 years. And I suppose the things that we'll be looking for, obviously the attitude and energy's got to be right. We like people with good habits, they're into fitness, they're into something that's keeps them disciplined, keeps them facing forward, keeps them optimistic. But then once you've got that cultural match and there's a bit of an alignment there, people that they know the streets and suburbs, they know which pockets perform better, they know the solicitors and conveyancers and which ones are sort of really quite challenging to get through a deal with because they're a bit fearful or you might do something wrong, and the ones that are quite liberal and sort of easier to deal with, and which ones need hand-holding. The sales agents out there, which ones have got policies where they take stuff off the market before it's exchanged. Other ones will only do it on a signed contract with a 66W. The ones that will not sell for prior to auction no matter what, and the ones that are open to doing that. That's the IP and the intel that our clients are going to benefit from. And we've got the ability to get that now because, I've been a sales principal for 18 plus years, and having shared the stage at ARIC with some of the greats of the industry and been on a lot of panels where we go overseas and whatever else, 2 or 3 phone calls we can usually get the intel we want. But we want the buyers agents to actually have that on board for their precincts. And this is where I think that we're going to find that we're providing a pathway for people that can do work they enjoy. They've got clients that actually really want to work with them. They're not dealing with a million no's to get a yes like in sales agency. And they're not trying to represent everyone. In sales agency, you've got so many things going on. To be good to buyers and just get back to their inquiry already puts you in front of where most sales agents are, especially in busy markets. But then to be able to service that buyer and really find what they want and help them get the property of their dreams or the one that's on their brief, it's very hard to do that as a sales agent when you've got a certain number of stock, you've got those vendors to keep happy, marketing campaigns, pricing, and all the other things to go on with. So yeah, they're the people, I suppose, that are going to be great for us to meet. And yeah, we are getting inbounds coming our way. And if it sounds like, someone listening to this, you might know someone in that field, we want to meet them because this is our way forward for now.
Agreed.
All right, well, see you on the next one.
End of 2023, huh?
Now you know.